Hello, Gary Simon here of DesignCourse.com. Today we're going to stick with the modeling and we're going to model the actual ballot box along with the legs that it will stand on. And so yeah, check out DesignCourse.com if you haven't yet and subscribe here at YouTube.
Alright, so now we're going to create the voting box portion which sits on top of it. Alright, so what we want to do is, and the type of voting box this is going to be, it's going to be like an old school wooden box that kind of sits up there where you put in your silly little voting, you know, which master you want to rule over you, and then you put it in the slot, and of course it just goes into a fictional or metaphorical toilet. So what we want to do is start off with the actual box portion, and then we're going to have like metal legs that stand over this portion. So what we'll do is also make sure you save this. I've already saved it, so file, save as, and save it somewhere. What we'll do is get our origin point set up correctly. So hit 3 on the number pad. I'll click right around here, hit 1, and it's also set in the correct position. So we'll go ahead, hit Shift. Also, make sure you're in object mode. Hit Shift A, Mesh Cube. S to scale that thing down. Let's hit 1 to get the front view. We want it to be roughly the same width as this back portion right here. So hit S and X. Move it over. That's pretty good. Hit 3 to get to the side view. And this will also be S and Y. Let's say right around there. That's actually, it looks a little bit too wide for my liking. So I'm going to 3 S and Y again. Bring that down. Maybe roughly right around there. Actually, I would probably like it to be just the width of this middle portion. So all I have to do is hit 7, and we'll hit S and Y again. And we'll go right around there and position it right there. All right. Okay, so now what we want to do, this bottom portion is pretty much done. It's going to have wood and a decal on it. So what we want to do now, we're going to go to edit mode, hit tab. We're going to go to face select this top one right here. So right click it. We're going to hit Shift D to duplicate it, hit Z to push it up just a little bit, hit P, separate by selection, hit tab to go to object mode, right click the duplicated face, and then hit tab again to go back into edit mode, hit A, and then hit E, and it's already on the Z axis. So this portion, when it comes to like these voting boxes, is this how they used to be? I don't know, but I always remember just to be like the old school ones, just to be a portion where it slants up like this. So what we're gonna do is go to edge select mode down there, right click this edge, hit 3, and drag it up like that. All right, very, very simple. Okay, so now we need like a slot in here in the center. So the way we'll do this is add some edge loops. So I'm gonna hit Control R, left click, and drag it up just a little bit. Control R again, left click, and drag it up right around there. All right, and then hit Control R to add an edge loop on this angle. Left click to set it, Control R, left click, and if we hit 7, we can get a better view of what this looks like. Just to make sure it's, I'm just gonna eyeball it to make sure it's pretty even, right around there. All right, so now we have a portion right here in the center, this face. If we go to face select mode, we can take this and we can hit E and then just left click to set it and then drop it down right around here, and then hit the delete key and make sure you specify face. All right, so now it's empty in there. Cool. All right, so that's all it is in terms of modeling the actual voting ballot box thing. All right, so very simple. Now what we want to do is model the actual metal cylinder legs that this thing comes on, or is basically sitting on. So what we want to do is we'll go hit 3 to go into side mode, right side. We're going to left click our origin point right there, hit 1, and it's pretty much where we need it to be, maybe over here a little bit more. And we're going to hit, wait 1 second. Damn you. All right, right there. Now we're going to hit Shift A, and we're going to add a cylinder. Hit S to scale that thing down by a lot. Now it's already on the correct orientation as being up and down. So let's hit 1 real quick. It's kind of in the box, so drag this over to the right just against it. Drag it up a little bit, maybe around there. All right, and hit 3. Wait, did I just add that to one of our... Yeah, I did. So if you have that issue, where you add an object when you're in edit mode, like I just did, and I advise you guys to be wary of, if you want to separate the objects, of course, just go back in the tab. We have it selected currently. Hit P by selection. Now they're 2 separate objects. All right, so now let's go back to edit mode, and we need to drag this thing down to the floor. So let's hit 1 on the number pad to go to front view. Hit A. Actually do it twice. Deselect all. Go into vertex mode. A. To deselect, hit B, and then just select the bottom. And we'll drag this down to the floor just above it, maybe right around here. All right. Very simple. All right. So now what we want to do is come down here, and we want to add like kind of just rubber black pads that'll go around here. So what we can do is, yeah, that's the only thing that's currently selected are just these edges right here, or these vertices. So what we can do is hit Shift D, Z on your keyboard, just drag it down a little bit beneath it, and hit P to separate by selection, hit Tab, right click it to select it, and then hit Tab again to go to edit mode, hit A to select all, and then hit E, and then Z. Oops, Z was already there by default. And you can tell when it starts going beneath the plane, right there, it shows that it stops right around there. So if you just get right around there, you'll be good. And then hit S to scale this up. And I'm going to select the top row only, so hit A, B. Make sure you don't select any of the bottom. And I'm going to scale that up a little bit as well. And then hit Tab to go to object mode, and we'll select this, the bar right here, and then hit Tab to go to edit mode. Hit A, make sure nothing's selected, hit B, and we'll just drag this in a little bit. All right, cool. There's one other thing I'm going to add. And so what I'm going to do is add an edge loop, Control R. You see it adds right in the middle of wherever you're adding it. So left click, drag this thing up right around here, close to the top. We're going to hit Control R again, drag it up around there, and maybe right around here. And then what I'm going to do is go into face mode right here, and hit 3. What I want to do is right click to select, actually let me turn that off. Right click to select, yeah. So I have 6 selected. If I hit the delete key and only choose faces, we have a hole there. All right. And this would be as if, you know, you have like a, what do you call, like a screw that's attaching. Although I'm not going to do the screw just because I don't want to get too hung up on so many details, and you won't really even be able to tell anyhow because we're going to be zoomed out for the final render. So just like that's going to work. And now what I want to do is add a subdivision surface to this. So I'm going to hit tab to go into object mode, and we're going to come out here to our modifiers, add subdivision surface. I'll just choose 3 on those, and of course we have this spear looking thing because of that. So go back into edit mode and Control R, pull this thing down all the way, and we'll see if we look at this. Yeah, that's fine. All right. Let's go ahead and also select this and add subdivision surface, tab, Control R again, bring it up. All right. Also, you want to add smooth shading to all these. So if we go into object mode, smooth, we want to make this smooth. This, I'm not sure if we set smooth to these ones or not. All right. All right, so now what we want to do is take this, and we have, wait. Before I do that, this needs fixed up here. We'll go to edit mode, tab, Control R, and just bring that up. Okay. Now we're going to select this and this by holding shift and right clicking both. And we're going to duplicate those. So let's go to top view 7. Hit shift D and then Y. All right. Now, both of these are selected. So hold shift, right click both of these objects. Shift D, hit X. All right. So now what we want to do is go ahead and we're going to make sure these are flipped around because the hole is facing this way. So if we right click just the bar, we don't have to worry about these. These are pretty much the same all around. So we're going to hit R and Z 180. Ah, no. Right now the origin point is right here. So it's going to rotate around this instead of just on the center of this. So what we can do is come over here and you see where it says set origin, put to origin to geometry, RZ 180. Now it's facing out. Set origin to geometry, RZ 180. All right. Sweet. Okay. So let's go ahead and see what this thing looks like at this point. Rendered. All right, so I'm going to right click just the top. So when you're in rendered mode and you try to click something, you're not going to see whatever you're selecting, but if you just right click it, you know you have it selected. G is the shortcut for move. So if I hit G and then Z and then just move my cursor down a little bit, you'll see now it's a lot closer, and then just left click to select it, or set it rather. All right. This looks ridiculous and funny. Okay. All right. I'm not too happy about how thick these are, these legs. They seem a little bit too thick, especially in relation to the size of the box. Like, this is overkill. You don't need that much structural support. So I want to scale these down a little bit, but we want to do it in a way that doesn't require a lot of work to fix. So I'm going to go back here to solid. All right. And I also want to make sure these are set to the origin point to the center of the geometry, but these aren't, these two over here. So set origin to geometry, and as well over here. All right. So if you were to hit like S.5, that gives us obviously something that's scaled down quite a bit. Although we're going to have to fix it a little bit. I'm going to undo that, Control Z. So the way you can kind of fix that is if you ever want to scale or rotate something on 2 axes instead of all 3, you hit S and then you hit Shift and whichever one that you do not want to be affected. So we don't want it to scale down on the Z axis. So you hit Shift and then Z. And then you'll see only the axes which are going to be affected, the X and Y, are highlighted. And so now, if you were to use your mouse, you could scale it down like that, or scale it up. Because I want them to be all the same, I'm not going to rely on the mouse. I'm just going to put in a number value. So I'm going to try 0.6. Just like that. So if I do that for all 4 of these, we'll hit S rather, sorry. And then Shift Z 0.6, enter. All right, S, and then Shift Z and 0.6, enter. And then also finally one more time, S, Shift Z, 0.6, enter. All right, so now we have just a minor issue. Yeah, those rubber things are way too big too. So let me hit, let me do the same thing here. Let me just put S.7. Got that issue. Right click and set origin to geometry. S. Let's just see if it happens. I hit 0.7. Let me undo that. What we'll do is S and then Shift Z 0.7. There, that's better. Do the same thing over here. Right click, sorry about this. Set origin to geometry. S, Shift Z 0.7. And then set origin to geometry. S, Shift Z 0.7. What did I do? I don't think I got the point in there. S, Shift Z 0.7. Enter, and then S, Shift Z, 0.7. Damn it. I forgot to set the origin to geometry. S, Shift Z, 0.7. Enter. There we go. All right, that's better. Now these things need moved, unfortunately. So what we'll do is hit 7. We'll zoom up here. We could see that it's further away because we scaled it down. So I'm holding Shift and right clicking to select both and move those over right against it. Okay, 7 again. Come over here, do the same thing. Right click, holding Shift and right clicking, and move that over. All right, I like that a lot better. So now if we go to rendered view, get a better idea of what this thing looks like. All right. All right, I think we can quickly set some materials up. So what we'll do is work on the toilet real quick. So we'll just right-click the biggest portion of the toilet, which is right here. And we'll come over here to the Materials tab, hit New. Make sure you're on Cycles Render, by the way. And by default, it adds Diffuse, okay? So we're going to add what's called a Mix Shader. And so if you've never used nodes before, let me show you real quick what I'm talking about. If you come up here, up to this little edge right here, you'll see your cursor changes. Left click, drag down. And then down here, we can change the viewport over here, and there's all these different types of editors that we can view. So we're going to change this one to Node Editor. All right. So the Node Editor is basically a reflection of whatever is set over here in this Materials tab. Okay. So we have the material output by default, and then we have a default diffuse surface shader. There's all these different types of surfaces that we can apply. One popular one is called a mix shader, and a mix shader allows you to add or mix 2 different shaders together, and you can control which of the other one is shown more versus the other one. So what we're going to do, because nothing is very few things are perfectly glossy, we're going to add a mix shader, which will add a diffuse and a glossy shader together. So to sever this connection, and there's two ways you can do this, by the way. The surface can be set over here. So if we click on this, we'll see we have all these different surfaces. We see mix shader right here. If we just left click it, you'll see that it updates right here. Now, if I hit Control Z twice, we'll see we go back to the diffuse shader right here. We can make the same changes entirely from within the node editor. So what we can do is sever this connection. You hit Control on your keyboard, left click. You see a little knife. And so now it's severed. And by the way, let's switch to render just so we can see everything that we're doing. Because there's no material set and I severed that connection, it's black. If we add that back, when we have this default diffuse shader. So let's sever that again. Shift A, and we want to add text shader, and then we have all the same options that we had over here. Okay. So what we do is add shader, mix shader, and we can see we could drag it on wherever we want. And I'm going to put it right here between this portion right here, the material output, and then a diffuse. So we'll connect this right here to this shader, and then this right here to the top shader. All right, so now it's only 50%, 0.5 of diffuse, and then there's nothing else down here. So let's hit Shift A, shader, and we're going to add glossy, if I can find it right there. All right, and then connect it to the bottom. Okay, so now this is 50% diffuse and 50% glossy. And you can see we can control the colors and the roughness of all that. So let's go ahead and... It's a little bit difficult to kind of see, you know, what exactly is being glossy and what's not, simply because everything is white. So I'm going to leave it right here. I mean, if you turn this all the way up, you can see how the reflections off of these soon-to-be metal poles are more defined and they're less diffuse. So this is all the way 100% glossy. So we'll just put it around, I don't know, maybe around 0.7 just for now. All right, so now what we can do is apply this material, and we can name this to white gloss or whatever you want to call it, to the other objects. So we're in object mode, right-click the seat, and we'll apply white gloss. You could tell how it changed already. It's a lot shinier. Right-click this portion, white gloss, right-click this top portion and choose white gloss as well. All right, very, very simple. So what if we wanted to make a change like to the color? Like, what if we want to make the color black? All right, so let's click on the seat, and with it selected, and you can't tell again. If you go to solid, you can see it's selected. We go back to rendered. We can click this plus sign right here. So now it's basically duplicated this texture, and it's named white gloss 001. We'll call this black gloss, and we can change the color real simply just by going over here. And it didn't become completely black because we only changed it on half of this. Or actually, it's only about 0.3 or 0.2, whatever. If we change this to black as well, we could see now, depending on how black we make it, I'm going to leave it right around there. That way you still can see some highlights right around there. All right. So now what if we wanted to add, or we wanted to make these metal portions look metal? So let's right click on them. Right now there's no material set, so it's going to be empty. We'll hit new, and we'll change this over here to a... I've still never learned how to say this. I mean, isn't it ridiculous? Anisotropic or something? I'm so ridiculous. I'm not even going to try it. I'll just shut up. So what we'll do is you can really adjust this depending on how rough you want it to be. Right now it's 0. And you could change it different colors. We'll experiment with this when the time comes. So we're going to change the name just to metal legs. And then we'll apply it to each one of these. So metal legs, where are you? Yeah, right there. And then this back one right here. Okay. And then we can also right click on, yeah, these little rubber stopper things. hit new. We'll leave it at diffuse and just make the color like black right around there. And we'll call these rubber stops, I guess you could call them. Right click that and rubber stops. Right click, rubber stops. And then, wow, my kid is being loud down there. I hope you guys can't hear this. She's like freaking out, having a tantrum or something. All right, and then this one will be changed here. Oops. Yeah, to rubber stops. We also have this handle. Right click that. And we'll make that the same as the metal legs material. It's not perfect, but it'll do for now. And we're already at 25 minutes. So if you want to get rid of this window, you right click right here. Oops. Join area, down. Looking good. All right. So tomorrow we're going to go ahead and start getting work. We're going to work with Photoshop, I think, and maybe go ahead and work on getting this box looking as it should. All right. I'll see you then.